The 2024 U.S. presidential election is being closely watched around the world, but nowhere is the scrutiny more intense than in the Middle East. The region has a long and complicated history with the United States, and the outcome of this election could have a profound impact on its future. The two leading candidates, Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump, offer starkly different visions for America's role in the world. Harris, a Democrat, is seen as a pragmatist who would likely pursue a more traditional foreign policy. Trump, a Republican, is a populist who has shown a willingness to upend long-standing norms and alliances. For many in the Middle East, the choice between Harris and Trump is a choice between continuity and chaos. Harris is seen as a known quantity, someone who would likely maintain the status quo. Trump, on the other hand, is seen as a wild card, someone who could just as easily escalate tensions as de-escalate them. The stakes are high for the Middle East, and the region is watching the 2024 election with a mixture of anxiety and anticipation. Kamala Harris's foreign policy approach is rooted in her belief in diplomacy and multilateralism. She has been a vocal critic of Trump's America First approach, which she sees as having alienated U.S. allies and emboldened its adversaries. On the issue of Israel-Palestine, Harris has sought to strike a delicate balance between supporting Israel's security and acknowledging the plight of the Palestinians. She has defended Israel's right to exist and defend itself, but she has also criticized Israeli settlement expansion in the West Bank. Harris has also expressed concern about the humanitarian situation in Gaza, which has been under Israeli blockade for over a decade. She has called for an end to the blockade and for increased humanitarian aid to the territory. Her approach to the Middle East is likely to be shaped by her experience as a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and her travels to the region. She is expected to prioritize diplomacy and dialogue over military force, and she is likely to seek to rebuild relationships with U.S. allies that were strained during the Trump administration. Arab American voters, a diverse and growing demographic, hold significant sway in pivotal swing states. Their political engagement, particularly in states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Florida, could be a deciding factor in the 2024 election. While not a monolithic voting bloc, Arab Americans are united by shared concerns, including foreign policy in the Middle East, civil rights, and economic justice. Their historical experiences with discrimination and profiling have heightened their awareness of social justice issues. Both Harris and Trump are actively courting the Arab American vote, recognizing its potential to tip the scales in their favor. Their outreach efforts involve engaging with community leaders, addressing concerns specific to Arab Americans, and highlighting policy positions that resonate with this demographic. The outcome of the 2024 election will likely hinge on the ability of both candidates to effectively address the concerns and aspirations of Arab American voters, making their participation in the electoral process more crucial than ever. Section 4. Trump's contradictory approach, a bid to recapture the White House. Donald Trump's foreign policy approach during his presidency was marked by unpredictability and a disdain for traditional diplomatic norms. His decision to withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal and relocate the U.S. Embassy in Israel to Jerusalem were met with mixed reactions in the Middle East. Despite his often harsh rhetoric towards Islam and Muslims during the 2016 campaign, Trump made efforts to engage with Arab leaders during his presidency. He cultivated close ties with Saudi Arabia and Egypt, seeing them as key partners in his efforts to counter Iran's influence in the region. However, his outreach to Arab Americans has been marked by contradictions. While he has touted his business dealings in the region and his relationships with Arab leaders, he has also implemented policies that have been widely condemned by Arab American groups, such as the Muslim travel ban. Trump's 2024 campaign strategy seems to involve a similar mix of outreach and divisive rhetoric. It remains to be seen whether this approach will resonate with Arab American voters, who are likely to be a key voting bloc in the upcoming election. The 2024 U.S. presidential election is being watched with particular anxiety in Iran. The Islamic Republic has had a contentious relationship with the United States for decades, and the outcome of this election could have a significant impact on its future. Trump's withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal and his maximum pressure campaign have severely strained relations between the two countries. The Trump administration imposed crippling sanctions on Iran, which have had a devastating impact on its economy. Harris has said that she would be open to returning to the nuclear deal if Iran returns to compliance. However, she has also said that she would be prepared to use military force if necessary to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons. The outcome of the election will likely have a ripple effect throughout the Middle East. A Trump victory would likely be seen as a green light for Iran's regional rivals, such as Saudi Arabia and Israel, to take a more aggressive stance towards Tehran. A Harris victory, on the other hand, would likely lead to a period of greater uncertainty as the region waits to see how she will approach the Iranian challenge. Section 6. The Ethics of Fear Campaign Rhetoric and its Global Impact. The 2024 U.S. presidential election, like its predecessors, has been characterized by a significant reliance on emotionally charged rhetoric, particularly the manipulation of fear. This tactic, employed by both sides of the political spectrum, raises ethical concerns about its impact on both the domestic and global stage. On the domestic front, the use of fear-mongering can exacerbate existing societal divisions, particularly those based on race, religion, and national origin. By portraying certain groups as threats to the safety and well-being of others, such rhetoric can fuel prejudice, discrimination, and even violence. On the global stage, the use of fear as a political tool can have equally damaging consequences. It can erode trust between nations, escalate tensions, and create an environment conducive to conflict. This is particularly relevant in the context of the Middle East, a region already grappling with numerous complex challenges. The ethical implications of using fear as a political strategy extend beyond the immediate electoral cycle. The consequences of such rhetoric, both domestically and internationally, can be long-lasting and far-reaching, undermining social cohesion and jeopardizing global stability. Section 7. The Future of U.S.-Middle East Relations, a Crossroads of Uncertainty. The 2024 U.S. presidential election marks a pivotal moment for U.S.-Middle East relations. The outcome of this election will likely set the tone for America's engagement in the region for years to come, with significant implications for peace, stability, and human rights. The Middle East is at a crossroads, facing a confluence of challenges, including ongoing conflicts, political instability, economic uncertainty, and the growing impacts of climate change. The next U.S. administration will need to navigate these challenges with a nuanced and pragmatic approach, prioritizing diplomacy and multilateralism. Key areas of focus will likely include the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the Syrian civil war, the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Yemen, and the escalating tensions with Iran. Addressing these issues will require a delicate balancing act, involving engagement with both allies and adversaries. The future of U.S.-Middle East relations hinges on the ability of the next administration to learn from the mistakes of the past, prioritize dialogue over military intervention, and work collaboratively with regional and international partners to address the root causes of conflict and instability.